Hi guys, thanks ever so much for the engagement and reaction that I've seen you guys put across sort of social media to the recent photographs that I posted off Broad Street reopening and Al-Fresco dining, as it were, taking place in this space in the city. Really, really grateful for it. I've not had so much, probably the most reaction I've had to a photograph I've posted so far. Lots of engagements, lots of interest, so I thought I'd come and give you guys a bit more context, and also as well to doing this to sort of have this as sort of like a taster to the Stories and Prints Patreon. And as part of that, I'll be offering a sort of video. I'll be offering 2 prints on a particular theme every month. First theme for May will be 2 examples that I have of Nottingham and how it's sort of changing and how the urban landscape's changing, particularly by the canal. But with that, you'll get a short sort of video like this, and then if you pledge at about £10 a month, about £5 a month, you'll just get a short video like this. Then my intention is £10. I'll allow you to have maybe a low resolution sort of digital copy for wallpaper use, and then at 15 and 20 you can have one or both of the prints that I offer every month. If that's something you'd love to see, feel free to check out the details on my website. You'll see this in the biography, or join my mailing list and I'll let you know very shortly when this is all sort of ready to launch. So back to Broad Street, as it were. I thought I'd just sort of fill in. Let me just first of all just sort of take you through the photographs that I made, or a short sort of subset of them. You can see these 5 images that I took were 5 of quite a few, but I just wanted to focus on these 5 in particular. I took these on last Tuesday evening, second day after the restrictions were partially lifted, allowing people to meet and socialise outdoors. And it was just sort of, I think what came across, particularly just going around Nottingham, was how unusual, like everybody's been sort of kept inside for, including your truly, for the past year, and how much like people probably missed just sort of like dining and stuff. And you can see what's readily apparent. You can see the popularity. Like, these tables are all sort of booked out in advance, and it's so good to see people willing to sort of re-engage once again and sort of dine and eat out and do it in a safe and sort of socially distanced sort of manner. Telling stories about sort of life and about people and what they do. Sorry, I'll take you back to me. So, telling stories about life and people is something I really sort of missed doing in the past year, as sort of lockdown had put a kibosh on a lot of the events work that I do, the commercial work that I do, telling stories of events. It's been quite quiet, and it was just so good to be able to take a look at and to see like people out enjoying themselves, seeing life again. And also, of those of you might sort of know me very well, I really enjoy like nighttime urban landscapes. So I just think the crossover, and there's an example I've got, this particular example taken from the steps of Broadway Cinema. The crossover between day and night is probably the most fascinating time of day photographically that I've had, and I've always had a love and a sort of love just seeing like how city scenes sort of transform as the day goes and the lights in the sky sort of disappear, and as sort of artificial lights from streets scenes and stuff sort of re-emerge. And ironically, on this occasion, when I first started taking these photographs, there'd been sort of a power outage, and the first hint I had of that was sort of walking along sort of Pelham Street in the city, and I suddenly saw two engineers from Western Power Distribution turn up, walking around, and ironic enough, there'd been a power cut. And when I first started sort of taking this set of images, this is the first frame, the power had completely gone out. I was stood on the opposite side, on the steps outside Broadway Cinema, and the power had just suddenly gone from the units on Broad Street, and it came back in stages. So first, this photograph which I took with some people more than willing to sort of join was when the power sort of went completely out, but it sort of came back on in stages. So you had the power going on in sort of stages. Now at this point the street lights hadn't come back on, but the lights had been restored to the buildings opposite Broadway, which made for like a really fascinating sort of effect where the ambient light from the sky itself that the sky still has to offer is not being completely decimated by street lights. I think that we have a massive light pollution problem in general in cities, a lot of cities and towns, but that's another sort of debate for another day. But with the look at what I've got noted. I knew with this sort of set, I needed to sort of shoot this really quite quickly, because I wasn't quite sure how quickly the lights would sort of restore and come back. And I started out sort of doing some sort of very wide angle stuff just to make the most of the spring sky and the sunset. And as I sort of went along, I then started out with my 14 to 24mm lens, and then I put on a 35mm lens to sort of get a bit more of a general sort of scene, to capture a few more of the people enjoying themselves. And then finally I sort of went to photograph a few sort of details just to sort of tell the story going further in with my telephoto 80 to 200mm. We'll say it's just so good. It's just so good to see like these images, see people beginning to re-engage, hopefully with the success that we've had so far with the vaccination program. It will be a case that we can continue to see like the city being reanimated slowly and surely over the coming few months. Fingers crossed. And this just makes such a difference to what it was like back in March of 2020, which if I can take you to, right, let's find the captions. Ambient. But let's see if we can. I had a series of these images, which this isn't the one that I had in mind particularly, but this photograph which I took on the which I took on the 21st of March just shows how empty Nottingham had been. Just as a way of contrast, this was taken outside Pelham Street further up, but it shows like how like empty, and it's so good to see like life and things sort of re-emerge again after what's hopefully been a tough year for us all. So that was just me sort of giving a bit of context, a bit of backdrop to how I felt and how I sort of thought of seeing those city scenes that you guys sort of reacted to so strongly. If you're interested more in the work I do, feel free to visit my website. Links will hopefully be in this sort of biography section. My website will have all my details of the commercial storytelling that I offer for sort of people running events. As that starts again, I'm more interested in getting involved telling people stories. I also offer sort of candid portraiture, so telling people stories as individuals themselves candidly. So that's something that help me using my sort of powers of observation as a photographer to sort of discover images that of people, to help them showcase a new side to what they do and help them sort of convey their personality and their personality in front of camera in images, so they can tell the stories of them to help them connect with their audiences even better. So there's details on that website. You've got a online shop as well, which has a small selection of merchandise. That's something that, so you can sort of follow and support. That's something you can take a look at as well. I've also never mind. So yes, so if you take a look on my website, you'll see details of the commercial work I do. You've also got a small amount for merchandise you can sort of buy to help sort of support the work I do and support me further. So yeah, that was just a explainer of the Broad Street Al-Fresco scenes that I saw. If you'd like more of this, feel free to feel free to follow me or like me, and if you want to see even more, then I've got the Patreon, which details will be forthcoming to you very shortly. So thanks ever so much for listening. Hope you sort of enjoyed that.